Calling the meeting to order. The sixth meeting of the House Elections, Constitutional Amendments, and Intergovernmental Affairs is called to order. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Representative Baker. Representative Bivens.
Here.
Representative Branscombe.
Here.
Representative Callaway.
Here.
Representative Chester Burton. Representative Decker. Representative Gooch.
Here.
Representative Hancock.
Here.
Representative Imes.
Here.
Representative Cook. Representative Lewis.
Present.
Representative Lockett.
Here.
Representative Marzian. Representative Roberts.
Here.
Representative Hodgson.
Here.
Chair Johnson.
All right, looks like we have a quorum. We're duly constituted for business. I'm going to ask Representative Lockett if he would lead us in a prayer, and then we're going to have a pledge. You'd stand, please.
Dear Father, we thank you so much for our day. God, we thank you for all of your blessings. God, we are your children. We ask God, we ask that you watch over our troops. I pray a special blessing on their families as possibly go into battle. Lord, we love you.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, just a couple of reminders. Please turn on your microphone so you get the nice little green light before you record your vote and speak before the committee. And remember to silence or turn off your cell phones. Do we have any members that want to welcome a special guest or receive recognition for their attendance? Okay. Seeing none, the only item on the agenda today is House Bill 534, sponsored by Representative D.J. Johnson, an act relating to elections and declaring an emergency. Representative Johnson, if you would introduce yourself for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative D.J. Johnson, 13th District, Davis County.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. All right, I believe we have before our consideration a committee substitute. Do we have a motion for the committee sub to consider?
I'd like second.
All those in favor? Any objection? Okay, motion carries. We are now in consideration of the sub. Representative Johnson, would you care to discuss the bill with us?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I would start off by saying this is deja vu all over again. We've actually taken the extraordinary effort to bring this bill back to committee. And I will say I think it's a good thing to do because it's a fairly complicated bill. And as we go forward, we hear ideas that we think are worth considering for it. We've had the time to do it. We've got the time to do it and still get it through the process. So we thought the best thing to do was to bring this back, take a floor amendment that we were going to be voting on anyway, and incorporate it into the committee sub, and then a couple of other things that we've thought would make the bill better, and allow you guys to vote on it again, make sure we're doing exactly what we need to be doing, and hopefully move it back to the floor. Having said that, I will speak to the changes that this committee sub has over the version that you've already voted on, and I'll go very quickly through some of the all the actions that are in this sub compared to what you've seen before. First off, it's going to remove the emergency clause, and it provides action dates to implement the sections of the bill to meet deadlines for the 2026 general election. This is at the request of the County Clerks Association. We actually put the emergency clause in because we thought that would give emphasis to getting the timeline moving forward. It was brought to us that we could do it with a different way without having an emergency clause, so we took the emergency clause out. The second thing it does is it removes the section concerning CREF member appointments by the President of the Senate and Speaker of the House. And the next thing is that at the request of the County Clerks Association, deletes Section 5 in its entirety concerning cast vote records. And then additional changes that were not in the floor amendment are in this substitute. It replaces the word shall with is authorized to with respect to the memorandum of understandings that the Department of Justice is wanting us to do, and we wanted to have the Board of Elections be able to do that. We felt that by having Shao in there, it might put them at a weaker position with respect to negotiating with the Department of Justice, so we went back to is authorized to. And then next thing is it deletes Section 3, subsection 6, concerning actions by poll workers and county clerks on election day in the event of individuals who want to vote, but they were flagged as non-citizens. Again, this was at the request of the County Clerks Association.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion on House Bill 534 as amended by the committee sub.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second.
I'm happy.
Yep. Okay, looks like we have some discussion. Representative Margin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple questions that I didn't really hear what you said about you took appointments out from the speaker and the president.
Yeah, I'll be
of
glad
this-
to speak to that.
and-
Is that your
that-
question?
well,
Just to talk about
I
that.
have a couple questions, but I was wondering why that was even in there and why did you take it out?
Sure. We felt initially that the General Assembly should have a little more say in that. We thought maybe having the Speaker and the President appoint, and I know this is always a touchy point. These are governor's appointments. We thought maybe we should do that, but then we looked a little closer at the language that's in there now, and the Senate already has confirmation of authority on those appointments, so we just switched back. That seems reasonable.
And that was to, to KREF. Was that appointments, is that what you said?
Yes, that's
Okay.
right.
Can I ask another couple questions?
Yes.
I just have a couple of.
Okay.
Because it's such a big bill. Thank you. So my other question is, I have to really compliment our Secretary of State, even though we're on different parties. I think he's just done a wonderful
Could the record
job.
show that, please?
Okay, record, please write that down.
Noted.
I think he's really done a great job, and we've talked a little bit, not a whole lot, but about some issues, and he's been great. I really have to say, and elections have been great. So, are you concerned about fraud and abuse in elections with Secretary Adams in charge? And like I said, I think he's really. There's been no problems in Kentucky. I don't think. I haven't seen. And have you seen them? And what do you think needs to be? Is that why this bill is to
No, I think,
address fraud, or what?
I think no, not necessarily using that term. I just think we should look at every opportunity we have to, even though we have, I think, the best elections process in the country.
I do
And
too.
I will tell you this: I go to meetings that of election representatives, committee chairmen from around the country. I go to meetings in the interim, and typically at these meetings, they offer ideas to the states on how they can improve their elections process. Typically, every time they offer a suggestion, I'm able to go, we already did that. So I think we have the best elections process in the country. However, that does not mean we can't continue to improve it. And when ideas are brought to me, I want to consider them. And if I think it's going to make things better, even though it's good now, let's make it. That doesn't mean we can't make it better. And that's where the spirit of this bill.
Okay. Thank you. And please make a note about my Secretary of State
Yeah,
comment.
duly noted.
I had one
Yes.
more question.
Yes, one more
if
question.
you don't mind.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So Section 10, I was reading of this long bill about you can run for 2 offices. And I was wondering where that came from and why we would need that. It's always been in Kentucky, you have to pick one or the other. So
Yes,
pick,
ma'am.
pick a side.
Yeah, that's a good question. And this was brought to me recently. It was, I don't want to use the word concern, but it was brought to me as the consideration that we have a unique situation to some extent where we have a elected official at the federal level who has also garnered national attention for the possibility of running for the most important office in our country, which is President of the United States. And we could say either or on that, but at the same time, the voters have spoken that they want this person to be in the position they're in. I thought the best, maybe splitting the baby a little bit, the best option was to allow them to be able to do both and honor the desires of the voters that have already elected him, while at the same time giving him the opportunity to run for the most important office we have in our country. So that's what I'm looking for, and it's not just one person that this applies to. It's for any elected official at the federal level If they so desire to run for president, we want to be able to give them that opportunity without penalizing them for the position they're already in. And that was the spirit of this language. Correct. Only at the federal level, and we think that's because
Awesome.
there is not a standard, but there is a level of achievement by achieving federal office that we wanted to recognize and respect.
Representative Roberts wants to comment on this as well.
Right. And thank you, Mr. Chairman and Representative Johnson. Just one other point to contemplate in terms of running for president and running for other federal offices. Would I be correct in saying that the people are the ultimate electors for U.S. Senate or U.S. Congress, where for the president, the ultimate elector is the Electoral College, which is a separate entity?
That is correct.
Okay.
And in fact, the language specifically doesn't say president. It says for an office that's decided by the Electoral College.
Right.
So that would include the vice president also?
Correct.
Yes, okay. Thank you very much. We have Representative Hancock.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have just a few questions. One of mine was concerning, since the governor has constitutional authority to restore voting rights through pardons and through the courts track these convictions but not pardons, how will this bill ensure that we're not removing voters whose rights have already been legally restored? Is there a system in place, and what does that system look like through AOC, and who's going to pay for that cost to update that system, and just some more detail there for me?
Well, I think the cost is already incorporated into what AOC already has to do. I had a conversation about this just a few minutes ago, and I think it's a valid question. What I don't like to do with legislation is try to get too deeply into the process. So I would say that AOC, as a matter of both common sense, and they can make it a regulation if they want to make it regulatory, as part of their due diligence, would contact the governor's office and find out how that would impact the list that they come up with. I don't think there's any huge cost in that. It's literally having communications between one agency and another. I think it's a necessary step if we're going to be as accurate as possible. So I would hope that they would do that, but I don't think we need to put that in statute.
Yes.
And I know here before I don't see anybody from the Clerks Association. Where is the Clerks Association on this as you submitted your sub?
Well, despite the three major changes that I've already identified this morning, at their request, they have still apparently voted. I wasn't in the meeting. I don't know for sure, but apparently they've still voted to oppose the bill. That's their discretion. But the bottom line is we have a responsibility as lawmakers to do what we think is best. I would love to have their support. We'll work with them to deal with their issues they have, but we are going to make the law that we feel that we need to make to improve our elections.
Okay. Representative Bivens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, just to clarify something Representative Hancock said, so I want to make sure I heard this right. So you have corrected this through the committee sub, made 3 changes to satisfy the Clerks Association, and they still have not.
That's correct.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I heard it right. Thank you, sir.
All right. Representative Chester Burton. Okay.
Thank you. My first question is the cost that this may be on this particular bill. And then the other one is how many non-citizens, or do you have like a percentage of non-citizens that vote significantly in Kentucky?
No, that's part of the problem is how do we identify that percentage until we put things in place to deal with that. I don't know what the percentage is, but I do know this, that if we can make our elections more secure, more accurate, and more fair, that's what we need to do. I'm not saying we have a major problem. I don't think we're flipping elections, although I can give you an example of an election that was flipped simply because of 2 illegal votes that were voted into a district. There was an election that happened with. 2 votes made a difference in the election. But again, the spirit of this bill and the spirit of hopefully for this entire committee is that when we see an opportunity to make our elections better, we do so. I'm not saying that we have a rampant fraud problem. As I have already said this morning, we have, I think, the best elections process in the country. That does not mean we can't make it better.
Okay, and then did you answer the one about the cost? I'm just...
I have not had anyone come to me and say there's a significant cost increase by doing this. I think it's mostly by the process that they're already doing. We're just kind of setting timelines, dates, and making sure that we get it done in a timely manner. If there is a cost issue, they'll have to bring it to me, and we'll go talk to A&R, but I haven't heard that yet.
Thank you.
Yep. Representative Branscombe.
Thank you, Chairman. And Chairman, thank you. Seems like you've made a lot of concessions on this bill to satisfy everyone. Where's the state board at on this? I know you talked about the clerks. I didn't know where the State Board of Elections is at.
You know, they're here. They can answer that question if they want. I have not. I don't know that I've actually specifically asked them for any particular position on it, but they've worked very closely with me.
Okay.
To their detriment, on a daily basis. They're probably getting tired. They haven't blocked my phone yet, I don't think, but they might be considering it. We've worked on a daily basis to get to this point.
Okay. Thanks.
Representative Gooch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm still kind of hung up on the issue of someone in the federal delegation that has an elected offices that might run for president. I understand that if you have a term and this is not your term, the end of your term, and you run for president, that's one thing. But if your term is up for that federal office, I don't think you should be allowed to run for both president and your existing seat in whichever chamber of commerce. Can you clarify that?
Yeah, I think I would say first that we've gone down this road a little bit before. We had this situation arise in 2015, 2016, the elections for the 2017 year, and we allowed it. So I don't think I'm setting any new precedent by putting this in here this time. I would say I understand the concern. Again, I have tried to lean in the direction of trying to respect voters' desires at the same time as allowing the opportunity for someone to run for that specific, vice president or president. I appreciate your concern. I've had a little bit of the same concern, but I decided to err on the side of what I think is what the voters would like.
Of course, this is just personal, but we have some members of our federal delegation that, to me, are becoming an embarrassment to Kentucky. And, I won't vote for this bill as long as that clause is in there. Sorry.
It's okay.
All right. No further discussion. We have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded to pass this bill. Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Representative Baker? Yes. Representative Bivens?
Yes.
Representative Branscombe?
Explain my vote.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, I appreciate your work on this, and like I said, it seems like you made a lot of concessions. I would love to have seen the clerks get to a yes, a thumbs up on this, because as we said before, I mean this affects them quite a bit. They're the downstream users of this, but I'm going to vote yes today. Hopefully, keep this thing moving, and maybe I don't know if we get a floor amendment to make them happy or get worked out in the Senate, but I'll vote yes today just to keep this thing moving. Thank you, Chairman.
Representative Callaway?
Yes.
Representative Chester Burton?
Explain my vote.
Yes.
I'm a no today, but I'd like to see some changes in this, and then maybe before it comes to us on the floor, I can be a yes. Thank you.
Representative Decker?
Yes.
Representative Gooch? No. Representative Hancock?
Can I explain my vote?
Yes.
I appreciate all the work that this body's done even before I got here with our Clerks Association to ensure that we do have the safest elections out there, and we all know this. We know that this fraud hasn't happened with proof. So to me, this bill is a solution looking for a problem. I think there's a lot of things that are still concerning. I know the clerks wanted to make it better. I know that we all want our elections safe, but I still think in its current form, it's still not really doing what it's intended to do. I think it's looking for issues, especially with people who get pardons coming off the voter rolls accidentally. I mean, to me is a step back with this bill, and I've expressed some other concerns. I will be a no, 100% on this bill. Thank you.
Representative Hodgson?
Yes.
Representative Imes?
Yes.
Representative Cook?
Explain my vote, please.
Yes.
I echo the words of Representative Branscombe. I do vote yes today.
Representative Lewis,
Explain my vote.
Yes.
I'm a yes today. I do have a couple concerns, and I'll get with the sponsor on that. Thank you.
Representative Lockett,
Aye.
Representative Marzian,
Can I explain my vote briefly?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'm a no today. I'm still worried about the clerks that are conducting the elections throughout the counties and work their tails off. So I'm really worried about them. And I'm also worried about the cost, since we're not really sure and our budget is very austere this time. So I think we need to really check into it about the cost. And once again, our Secretary of State has been outstanding in conducting, probably, like you said, Chairman, the most secure, fraud-free elections in the country. And I really have to hand it to him. He's done a fabulous job. So I think we need to leave it to him at this time to see if there's any hanky-panky going on. But I'm going to vote no today. Thank you.
Representative Roberts,
Explain my vote.
Yes.
I'm a yes today. I particularly like the fact that we are ensuring that there is the avenue for human verification of our election systems by getting rid of the QR codes, the bar codes as the means for checking these. So I think that is a critical piece of legislation there. Further, for the issue on invalidating ineligible voters, this makes clear that this list shall include convicted felons who are currently ineligible to vote. So if someone's received their civil rights restoration from the governor, they wouldn't be on that list. But finally as well, this bill includes critical language to protect the free speech rights of candidates that the Supreme Court of the United States, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, has repeatedly held candidates have the right to disclose, but yet we have agencies here in Kentucky every election cycle going beyond their authority, going beyond what the Constitution permits, and this puts a stop to that. So on those grounds, I am a yes on this bill. Thank you.
Chair Johnson.
Comment on my vote?
Please do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, Representative Marsden, you brought up a point I was probably remiss in not mentioning, that I have coordinated with the Secretary of State on this bill throughout the process. I should have mentioned that up front, or maybe I did the last time we were here. I don't remember, but that's true. And I'm a yes. Thank you.
All right. With 12 votes in favor, 4 against, the motion passes. We need to get a motion to adopt the title amendment. Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries. House Bill 534 is amended by the committee substitute, and the title amendment passes with favorable expression and should do so on the House floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee chair.
And with that,
or committee members.
With that, we are adjourned. Thank you.